Hello everybody, and welcome to an update on this, my 2010 Maserati Quattroporte Sport GTS. I've owned the car for quite a while now, yet it hasn't appeared on the channel since its introduction. There are a couple of reasons for that. First, I have been crazy busy, both on and off camera most of the year. Second, there are a few things I wanted done to the car before I put too many miles on it, and in Italian car tradition, everything took just a little bit longer than anticipated. All Maseratis are somewhat flawed beasts, with many being the quirky but cool kind, like this, and others being of the "that's why history forgot you" variety. The 5th generation Quattroporte is probably one of the closest times Maserati has come to genuine mainstream success, but even that is still a fairly rare car, with only 25,000 of them being made across a 9-year production run. That's less than 1 year of 911 output for Porsche. And this later car is indeed a lot better than the earlier ones, but even still, there were two big issues that I wanted to address. The first item, and by far the biggest killer of Maseratis of this age, is corrosion. You see, these have an almost all steel structure underneath, and for whatever reason, Maserati didn't really apply that much corrosion prevention from the factory. So you'll find cars that are only a few years old that have already got some pretty serious issues. In fact, the problem was so severe that at last check, the factory had entirely run out of front subframes. This is also a problem that afflicts the Maserati GranTurismo, because underneath that is almost exactly a Quattroporte. The front subframe is actually an identical part. The other problem to solve was the infotainment. It was okay, but very outdated. You couldn't even stream music over Bluetooth. So I wanted to fix that, but without losing any of the original system's functionality. Luckily, I found a company that can help me with both of these problems, Sports Italia, and I shall be using them going forwards for all of my Maserati stuff. The guy behind the operation is called Matt, and he's the man who set up the Sports Maserati forum, so he's very familiar with all of the Maserati models. Now, he's joined forces with some guys that are specialists in Ferrari and Lamborghini, and so those are the 3 marques they'll be working on there. The business is down near Southampton, not actually all that far from Meridian Modena, and as far as I'm concerned, it's well worth the trip because they really do know these cars inside out, and when it comes to Maseratis, specialist attention is worth every penny. Please don't take these cars to anyone that doesn't know what they're talking about. The car was at Sports Italia for about 2 months in total. In fairness, that was always part of the plan, and we knew that a few bits had to take a while to arrive, so it wasn't really much of a rush job anyway. And in their own words, they prefer to do a job right rather than fast. I got an Alfa Romeo Giulietta courtesy car to bomb around in while the car was being worked on, so I was still mobile, and in all honesty, that's the kind of thing you'd get from a Ferrari main dealer as it is. First port of call is an inspection. So they went over the car, checked it was in the condition that I thought it was. I'd already had the car looked over fairly recently, so we didn't really find any surprises. There aren't any big oil leaks or issues with it, and generally speaking, it is in quite good nick. That's one of the reasons I wanted to get it looked after so soon, is because I want to preserve that. I will be doing a full buyer's guide, a model history on the 5th generation Quattroporte in an upcoming video, so if you are thinking about buying one of these cars, that'll probably be something that you want to watch. To do the underside on this car was fairly simple because there wasn't really any corrosion to worry about. What they'll do, they'll get the car on a ramp, inspect it. If there is something that needs sorting, they'll come to you, talk to you about the options. They can do repair work on most of the cars, and the earlier you get them in, the easier it is to deal with. This car was fairly simple. It was just a case of stripping down what was there, applying a very healthy coat of sealant, filling in any cavities that may be problematic, and then that is it. To me, for a service that costs only a few £100s, this is absolutely vital. Everybody that has a Quattroporte or a GranTurismo should just get this done because it's going to keep your car on the road for an awful lot longer. If corrosion gets into that front subframe, it's pretty disastrous. It's a very big issue to sort out. So if you do nothing else to your Maserati, get this done. It's absolutely essential and far cheaper, quicker and easier than trying to solve the problem after it's appeared. And the other bit on this car I thought we couldn't solve, we actually could. And this is where having a specialist that knows these cars inside out really pays dividends. These cars have a very, very unusual system here in the dash. They use it for logging when the car has been serviced. And if you're not careful, you can more or less brick your dashboard. So the car has an internal memory which knows when it was serviced the last sort of 10 times. And if for whatever reason your battery has gone flat, the clock has reset itself, then you try and reset the service light, you'll screw the whole thing up. Quite why this is, I don't know. Maybe it's some sort of basic prevention to stop cars being clocked. But if you set it for a service in, say, 2010, then 2012, then the battery's gone flat and the car thinks it's 2000, and you hit the service light, you brick it. The whole thing just stops. The symptoms of this are a permanently illuminated service light and a clock that you cannot set. The internet would tell you the only solution for this is to replace the dash, or certainly the clocks. That's not cheap. Luckily, the guys at Sports Italia have an expert who can go into the computer, reset it and get it all working again. This again costs a few £100s, but is dramatically cheaper than the sort of 1,500 quid to £2,000 it'd cost you to get new clocks in here. So that was a small problem that bugged me, and I'm happy to say now solved. We also sorted the rear brakes. The fronts have been done by a previous owner and they're the really expensive ones. Parts for the rear are about £700 and labour was just a couple of hours. I also had the wheels all refurbished at the same time because each one had a few marks on it, and that really has lifted the look of the entire car. I'm still not sure whether I want to return the little trident logos to the wings of the car or not. This should have on each side a little Maserati badge, and because it's a Sport GTS, a couple of red accents on it. But I'm just not sure whether I want to put them back. So let me know down in the comments below, would you put the badges back on the C-pillar or not? The big news, of course, is the fitment of my new infotainment system. And honestly, I couldn't be happier. It's absolutely everything I'd hoped, and then just a little bit more, because it's actually more advanced than I thought. The best part about it is if you sat in this car and you looked at it, you wouldn't know anything had changed. The only giveaway is the fact that there is now a little USB cable hanging out in the passenger footwell for if you want to charge your phone. The reason it's only there to charge your phone is that the system is actually wireless. It supports both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I'm an Android Auto user. The sign up or sort of connection process is very, very easy. You just connect to the car's Wi-Fi like anything else, and it works brilliantly. The system is really responsive. There is a resistive or something or other touchscreen membrane laid over the original system. To switch between the two modes, you simply hold down a button here on the steering wheel, and then you've got a choice of either your original Maserati infotainment or brand new, up-to-date Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. It interacts with the stereo in here absolutely fine. Sound quality seems to be just as good as OEM. It's more responsive and better working than I thought it actually might be. I had no idea it was going to be wireless, which is a real nice Brucey bonus. And although the colours on the system are a little bit wonky, the edges of the screen don't line up absolutely perfectly, it works really, really well. It's also quite reasonably priced. The whole system is about £1,000. Full disclaimer, the only discount I got for this job was on the actual fitting of the product. All the parts, everything else, I have paid for. This was the first system installed in the country. That's one of the reasons it took a little bit longer. I've been testing it out, and I've got to say, thus far, really, really like it. Whenever you get back to the car, turn it on, the whole thing connects up. It's absolutely brilliant. And for the outlay, I think another thing that's just worth having, because it makes these cars that much more modern and usable. Of course, this being an Italian car, the work is never done, and when it goes back in for its service early next year, there are a few bits I want to tend to. Mostly cosmetic now, but there's still a few little bits that I think we can improve on the car, but those of course are for another day. Now what I've got to do really is try and put some more miles on it, enjoy it, and work out what it is that I want to do with it. Because as much as I do really love this car, I'm also paying quite a bit of money for it. I have this on finance, and it actually costs me only £100 less a month than my 430 Scuderia. So if it's going to justify its place on the driveway, it does really need to impress me. The car certainly has its moments of brilliance, and there are times where this makes you feel a way that no other big luxury saloon possibly could. However, that's not always enough, and the truth is, this is the sensible car on the driveway. So if it can't also do the daily duties and put a smile on my face, unfortunately, it will have to go. But it's got a few months to try and impress me, and for me to see if I can really properly gel with it. Until then, I will be making some more content with the car, so if there's anything in particular you'd like to know, please ask me in the comment section. For now, thanks for watching. Please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye bye.